What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. And I'm your regular host, Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge.
Hello and welcome to Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. And I'm always glad to be your regular host. My name is Akinyemi. During the last two previous episodes of Exposé, we featured Dr. Jack Mbom. Unfortunately, the audio during that particular episode was not good enough. The technical crew did their best to remedy it, but it didn't work out well. So we have decided to revisit this same subject because we consider it very, very important. You know, back in school, if you took a course and you didn't score well, you do a receipt or a carryover. So consider this one a receipt of that particular episode. First of all, let me apologize to all our teaming viewers for that disappointing episode. The content was too rich that we couldn't just let it pass, without underscoring it. And that's why we had to appeal to Dr. Jack to please come back. And we're so glad that he has accepted to come back. And in fact, he's right here in the studios with me today on this episode of Exposé as we continue our conversation on the value of physical exercise. Dr. Jack is such an authority that he has so much to say, we cannot just gloss over them. We want to pay full attention, we want to be all ears, we want to hear from the human being's mouth, not from the horse's mouth. And I believe that the things he will bring to the table today again will be such that will be mind-blowing, and they will be useful information to navigate us and guide us on our wellness and well-being journey, particularly in the area of exercise. Of course, Dr. Jack is an all-rounder, very balanced in every way. He is an exercise and fitness coach, but beyond that, he also brings in other dimensions and other components to the whole mix, to the equation, to make it balanced. He talks about nutrition, he talks about many other aspects of healthy living. And apart from exercise, I'm sure you will get some bonuses on top of it. We are going to plead with him that he will still be back here next week for yet another episode so we can cover all the grounds that we missed the last time. So please join me in welcoming once again to Exposé, Dr. Jack Mbom. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Reverend Tony. Thank you for having me.
We're so honored that you made it again after we messed up.
It's my duty. We need to transform Nigerians and Nigeria by providing them with the wherewithal to be able to be healthy and productive.
Right. Prior to coming into the studio today, you and I were having a conversation. Before we go into the exercise portion, you mentioned something which I don't want to forget. So we're going to be dealing with that. But that will be after you have again given us a brief introduction of yourself, a brief summary of your CV, your person, your career path, so that people can get to know who exactly we're talking with and what an authority you really are.
Thank you very much, Reverend. I'm Dr. Jack E. Mbom, and I am 69 years young.
Wow.
And I have a passion for health and exercise. You may be an authority and highly knowledgeable, and trained in a particular field of human endeavor, but if you don't have a passion for it, you can only go so high.
Yeah.
Consequently, passion is that fire that ignites every single thing we do and takes us to the next level. I have a background in physical and health education, BSc in physical and health education, MSc in physical and health education, and a PhD in physical and health education with a specialization in exercise physiology. Now, in those days, because I'm 41 years post-PhD, when you read physical and health education, you do the totality of the human being. So you do, the structure of the human body, anatomy. You'll do the function of the human body, physiology. You'll do the fueling of the human body, which is nutrition. You'll do the driving or the drive of the human body, the control, which is psychology. Then finally, you'll do the human body in situ, in his environment, which is sociology. So it was the gestalt, the totality, of the human being. So when I graduated, I was employed by the Nigerian government as the national karate coach, because I'm also one of the most senior African, karate black belts.
Wow.
So I was employed as a national karate coach, and that was the time when Buhari was in power for the first time.
As a military head of state.
That's right, and they were talking about, discipline.
Right.
Talking about that, and then the point I made to the government is that if we want, Nigerian youth to be disciplined, if we want Nigerian youth, to be fit, if we want them to embody values of endeavor, and respect, for authority, then it will be good for us to engage them in martial arts, because it has worked so well in the Eastern society. It's worked so well in Japan, worked so well in China, worked so well in Korea, and that we could also replicate it here, so we can be able to have the same values that were developed in those countries that put them on the world map.
Wow.
So then I was, like I said, employed as a national karate coach, but also as a lecturer at the National Sports Institute. And incidentally, at that time, the National Sports Institute was an institute of cooperation between the US, Germany, and Nigeria, training coaches.
Right.
Because when people read physical and health education, they just have the knowledge, cognom. They need to come to the institute to have the practicum.
Right.
You need a combination of knowledge and then
practice.
Practical experience, so you can be able to teach and be able to coach, in the area of exercise and fitness. When I left government, I actually trained, government agencies like the armed forces, trained their coaches.
Right.
I trained the police coaches. I trained the SSS coaches. I trained, the prisons department coaches, and I even, developed training programs for, the Brigade of Guards that's in charge of the training and the protection of the sea, and Sea Commander-in-Chief. Consequently, I have been on the turf for a while. Then when I left training government and consulting for government, I went to the oil industry.
Okay.
They're highly specialized, they're highly effective, so they are very much focused on safety, they're very much focused on health, to be able to ensure that their operations are effective. So I consulted for Shell then SPDC consulted for Chevron, then CNL consulted for Tutafina Elf, then TFE consulted for Mobil, producing and Mobil Oil, etc., and then what my responsibility is training the security personnel in fitness and use of force, and training the expatriate staff and senior staff in wellness and health.
The senior staff only. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
You know that when it comes to training, having been a trainer over the years, what I noticed was that if you train people below management level and you do not train the managers and controllers, they are not going to be allowed to use the knowledge they had, because those who manage them, control them, supervise them don't have that knowledge. So the idea is always to train from the top. They have authority.
The policy makers.
They have authority. They have resources. They have power. And they can bring it to bear. To ensure that it goes all the way. Down. That's right.
I get it.
So,
I mean, you've really been to almost every place imaginable. Public sector, private sector, and academically a PhD and 41 years post-PhD. Wow, you should be a professor emeritus in this field. We thank you once again for coming to share from your wealth of experience with us today. Like I said in the beginning, backstage, before we came on set, we were talking about some things relating to how to create a citizenry, a population for the country that will be fit, that will be healthy, and consequently be productive. How do we raise a productive, a healthy, fit, and productive workforce for Nigeria as a case study? You were saying some things to me backstage. You mentioned 6 major steps towards achieving that. I want you to please lay it on the table today.
Yes, Reverend. 6 steps to achieve, what you have just explained, and those 6 steps are the sine qua non, meaning the necessary, in fact, indispensable, steps that we have to follow to be able to achieve a citizenry that is healthy, that's energetic, that's productive, thereby putting Nigeria on the world map. And those steps are: step number 1, health awareness. What health awareness means is that we have to develop the consciousness and the awareness of our citizenry to the fact that health is the most important gift of God to mankind. It's the greatest asset we have. And I tell people, that if you don't have health, you have nothing. When you lose health, you lose everything. And I say that with tremendous experience. Not just the knowledge. Because 21 years ago, I was involved in a fatal car accident, multiple fractures, 2 days in coma, orthopedic surgery here, corrective surgery abroad. So I know.
When you lose your health,
I know.
You lose everything.
Because when I had that accident and I was in coma, there was no last phone call to make. There was no meeting to go to. Everything came to an abrupt stop. Consequently, having experienced that, that's something I will not want my worst enemy, if I had any, to experience. So health is a sine qua non. So once we realize that it's the most important asset we have, when we realize that if we don't have it, we have nothing, and when we lose it, we lose everything. So we realize the indispensability of it, and then we equate health to life. Step number 1.
Awareness. Getting people to be aware of these facts.
That's right. And step number 2, now that we are aware, we have to reprioritize and make health come first.
Good.
Because most of us, and mostly our leaders, have always made this mistake, that when we set our mind onto a leadership destination, we plan the journey, without bringing in the vehicle
to make the journey.
Consequently, you are on the highway of life. You did not factor in the vehicle. You did not service it.
Right.
And the vehicle breaks down.
Right.
Then the experience of leadership comes to a screeching halt. So it is indispensable, once we know that health is the most important asset, to reprioritize and make it come first.
Right. So, we hear people all over the place saying, oh, I really know I should exercise. I really know I should do this. I really know I should do that. But I ain't got the time.
I like that.
I'm busy. Okay, I'll do that next year and blah, blah, blah. We hear that a lot. So when people become fully aware of how critical, how strategic, how important the issue of health is in the equation of life, then they begin to push health up the list from where they have relegated it.
Absolutely.
They prioritize it as critical, as strategic, as important, and so they make room for it. That's the second point I believe you're making.
Absolutely.
Right, and then the third?
The third point is provide health information.
Okay.
And health information means what to.
What to do. Right.
Number 4, provide health education, which is how to.
Wow.
Because
so you don't only know what to do,
you
also
must know how to do that.
Great.
Or else what to becomes absolutely useless. Now, step number 5, ensure that health stops being a concept that we hear of on TV and newspapers,
right,
and becomes a daily personal experience.
Wow.
Where you practice health. Okay?
You're a practitioner
of health.
You're
it's
not
just
a
something
theorist.
you know, that's important.
Right.
That's very, very important. And then step number 6, instigate leadership for health. Where leaders practice health. They don't just speak health. Because what we don't understand is that our mentees and those under us are much more influenced by what we do
rather than what we say. Right.
Consequently, if we as leaders start living healthily, then our followership will definitely toe the line, and health will become, not only a personal project, but a family project, a corporate project, a community project, a state project, and a national
project. And you wake up every morning and you see people all over the place engaging in one form of exercise or the other. So it becomes a national movement.
Absolutely.
Wow. I pray that we are able to mobilize Nigerians to get to that point. And probably also other nations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. These days in my residential estate where I live, I wake up early in the morning, I'm doing my morning walk, and now I see several people out as early as 5 a.m. Everybody's walking all over the place, and I'm so thrilled, to see that happening, unlike before, where everybody sleeps and sleeps and sleeps and they don't get up to,
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is that the consciousness is there. Now, what we have to bring up to match the consciousness is the knowledge and the experience.
How to do it correctly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because health is so knowledge and experience intensive. And I usually say this, not to put our, learned colleagues, the lawyers down, but I usually say it, and it's truthful, that the most learned people we have, professionals we have, are people in the health sector.
Right.
Because it takes expensive training, intensive training, extensive training, and continual training for you to be a professional in the health sector. Because science keeps on moving.
Right.
It keeps on improving. That's why you and I are dedicated to giving people the updated knowledge, the current knowledge. And that knowledge keeps on improving. It keeps on, changing. It keeps on growing. So now learning how to is extremely important, or else there are lots of consequences when you treat the human body, which is the most sophisticated piece of equipment we have, and which has no spare parts.
You keep saying that.
If you treat it wrongly, I keep saying that because for me, it's a matter of life and death.
Right.
I have an iron in my leg. In fact, when I was coming, yesterday from Ijebu, I was looking for spare part shops to buy a spare leg just in case.
But you couldn't find one.
And I was told that Buhari has banned the import of all body spare parts. So now, what I'm telling the Nigerian nation is that the heart you have, you're stuck with it.
Right.
The leg you have, you are stuck with it.
You better take
You
good
better
care of
treat
that.
your head with the best level of preventive maintenance so that it can take you throughout life without fail.
Okay. Dr. Jack, if we engage you, you can just keep churning it out over and over and over. We have to take a short break. And then when we're back, we're going to now dive into exercise proper. You tell us what is exercise. And I remember the last time you also mentioned about physical activity, and you said there was a difference between the two. We want you to clarify when we come back. Don't go away, we are going back shortly.
Discover fundamental truth that will transform your health and empower you to live a life void of sicknesses in this new book by Reverend Tony Akinyemi, Nature versus Nurture. Get a copy to experience it for yourself. Please visit TSS Bookshop now to grab a copy.
Rafa Institute of Healthy Living presents Healthy Living Module 3 Training. Date 17th to 20th of November, Wednesday to Saturday, 2021. Join Reverend Tony Akinyemi and his team of seasoned professionals for this life-changing training. The time is 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. daily. This would allow you to have returned from office and settled. Please note that this training will be held on Zoom. Training fee is 40,000 naira and the early bird registration is 35,000 naira. Mode 1 graduates are eligible to attend this training. What you will learn includes cancer prevention strategies, colonic irrigation and enema, vitamin C, benefits and channels of administrations, alternative cancer protocol, natural bioresources for health, cancer, the types, causes, incidence, characteristics and stages, environment and our health, etc. For more information, please call +234 902 976 6076 or +234 806 702 0412. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Exposé. It's been very, very explosive today since we started with Dr. Jack on the value of physical exercise. Dr. Jack has given to us 6 major steps for building a populace, a citizenry that is healthy, that is fit, and consequently very productive, minimizing downtime in the workplace. Now, I studied computer engineering first and foremost before I studied other things. And in computer engineering, there is what we call the downtime. When you have a piece of equipment, a piece of computer equipment, for example, you want it to keep running and functioning and processing data and doing whatever it is that you have programmed it to do. And you don't want it to break down. You don't want it to shut down. You don't want it to be out of operation. So you minimize the length of time that it is out of operation. So you keep giving it regular maintenance services, preventive services, not necessarily waiting until it breaks down before you begin to do corrective services. Okay, you do preventive maintenance in order to minimize downtime. Now, applying that to human beings, people go to work and before you know it, every now and then they are calling in sick. Because today they are down with this, tomorrow they are down with that. And then even when they don't call in sick, they are there, they are tired, they are fatigued, they are not clear-headed, and all of that. And that affects productivity at the end of the day. So Dr. Jack has given us a template that if the nation will adopt these 6 steps, then the whole population will be fit, will be healthy, and consequently will be very productive. And of course, that is going to boost the economy, the national GDP of any nation when you have a very fit population. Thank you, Dr. Jack, for bringing that to the table. Now we want to go into exercise proper. I remember he said one time in our private conversation, he said exercise is king and nutrition is queen. And when you have the two of them, what do you have?
A healthy kingdom.
You have so many, classic sayings that are words on marble. Thank you for your sharp-mindedness.
Actually, the person who said that is the father of wellness.
Right.
Late Jack Lalande.
Jack Lalande, that's right.
Who said people don't die of illness, they die of neglect. They don't die of old age, they die of neglect.
Wow.
Exercise is king, nutrition is queen.
And when you have both of them,
you have
a healthy kingdom. You have a healthy kingdom. Okay, let's talk about exercise. What is exercise? What is physical activity? And what are the differences?
Well, exercise is structured physical activity.
Okay.
For the purpose of developing fitness, developing a higher performance capacity, developing a higher productive capacity.
Right.
So it's planned, is properly administered, is properly assessed, is updated and upgraded, so that you can be able to achieve a specific purpose. So it's a targeted.
So it's targeted, it is structured,
that's right.
It has a clearly defined goal.
Researched and all that, and clearly defined goal.
Right.
Physical activity, is what we do when we engage in bodily movement that result in muscular contraction and expansion.
Right.
That increase blood flow into the system, increase lung ventilation in the system, decrease muscular viscosity, improve or increase, body temperature, and then all that to prepare us adequately for the high load of the main part of whatever we have to do.
So it's our day-to-day activity.
Day-to-day activity is what we do that keeps us as a moving motor mechanism.
Oh, these are technical terms. Anyway, now that, I believe, clarifies the confusion in the minds of many. Many people have told me, hey, Pastor Tony, you keep saying we should exercise, but I run a busy life. I'm always on my feet all day, selling my wares and doing my business, or cooking in the kitchen, or doing this and that and that. Isn't that enough exercise? But you have just clarified that that is physical activity.
That's right.
You're just active, going around, which is good. It has its own
good
place.
as a background.
Yeah. But then the real thing is the structured one that has some specific goals in mind, and that includes methods that are well researched, that are well grounded in science, not just haphazard and arbitrary things that people
and that are continually refined.
That's right.
To improve.
And upgraded.
That's right. Because in exercise and performance, we don't just get the athlete stuck at a certain level of performance.
Right. You keep upgrading.
That's right. Because exercise is loading.
Right.
In fact, not just loading, overload. We call exercise and exercise physiology overload and progressive resistance.
Okay.
It means that your capacity is here.
Right.
And I load you at your capacity level. There will be no adaptation processes.
Okay, because you're already accustomed to that
Consequently,
level.
if your capacity is 10, I must overload you at 12. Okay. So the body can adapt, and then I keep on increasing.
So the body keeps
progressive
catching up.
resistance. So that the body can keep on improving, then you can reach your optimum, and we stretch it and maintain it for as long as possible.
Right. Good. Now, you mentioned the fact that exercise is structured. Exercise has some clearly defined goals in view, purposes to achieve. Now, can you help us understand what could be some of the purposes of exercise? What are the things that exercise can help us to accomplish or to achieve? What kind of goals?
Well, what comes to my mind, first of all, is that exercise is an art form.
Okay.
Choreography and all that,
Right.
and people admire that. That is art.
Okay.
Exercise is also important for leisure and recreation.
Right.
Okay? You run on the beach, you play ping pong and all that. It's important.
Right.
Exercise is important for developing capacity, performance capacity, and productive capacity.
Including mental capacity.
Absolutely. That's what we engage in when we train people in sports or in anything to achieve a specific purpose. For instance, let me make this clear, that exercise has tremendous impact on your brain function.
Right.
Okay? Because the brain feeds on glucose and oxygen. And when you engage in fast muscular contraction and expansion, the body will pump more glucose and more oxygen.
Right.
Exercise has also been shown when it comes to the brain, to increase the size of the hippocampus.
In the brain.
In the brain and the prefrontal cortex, which are all associated, with, cognitive functions, planning, scheduling, strategizing, and all that. So exercise is very important to actually increase, the volume of, brain cells.
Wow.
And also increase, the interconnection, into those brain cells. And then synapses and all that, and prevent, cognitive decline, and the brain actually, becoming smaller as we age.
Right.
And to be able to buttress the importance of that, today we have Alzheimer's disease. They have depression.
Okay.
And there's no treatment for them. They are progressive diseases and they manage you until you die and try to make sure that you don't have too much trauma, too much pain. But exercise is actually the cure
for Alzheimer's.
That. In fact, let me make this point clear. There is no illness condition, there's no disease that will not be fully positively impacted by exercise.
As a component for recovery.
As a component for prevention.
Prevention, okay.
A component for, stopping the disease and reversing the disease.
Right.
Consequently, exercise is the most powerful pill that was ever invented. And unfortunately, that is not regularly used, and effectively used. So that
maybe
is
because
really
it's free.
Yes, maybe because it's free. And yet it is very effective, more effective in some cases than drugs.
Right.
In fact, we have had some meta-analysis, in research that has shown, that has compared the effect of exercise and the effect of some drugs on patients. And the result was that, they were virtually, equal. And in some cases, exercise was even better, like in the case of depression, Alzheimer's disease, etc., etc. So exercise is a sine qua non. There's nothing, like I say, no disease condition that will not be positively impacted by exercise.
Great. Actually, a very senior registered nurse, told me the other day that they have now incorporated exercise into their regimen for caring for patients with, chronic
degenerative
diseases, particularly those with Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's, and Lou Gehrig's, and all of them. And she says it's been found to actually help a great deal.
Reverend Tony, it is but time.
Right.
The knowledge has been there. Even when I had my second surgery in Belgium, the next day they tied my leg to a contraption to have muscular contraction and expansion. Because even when you administer drugs to a patient, for those drugs to be effective, they have to go to all the cells of the body. And what will increase, circulation is muscular contraction and expansion. Also the same thing with removing waste product
from the body
and toxins from the body. So exercise is a sine qua non, and we are saying, and in fact the movement is on, exercise is medicine.
Very much so.
It's a very powerful movement now in the US, in Europe, in Canada, and everywhere. And what we are saying here is that it's high time medical and fitness personnel work together.
Right.
And we start prescribing exercise as medicine, because exercise is
medicine. Good. So, which means, first of all, the people involved at the various levels of healthcare should embrace this fact as real and something that we urgently need to start incorporating into whatever therapy we administer to people. And then on the other hand, to also have the people to go to, because there are people out there that are fitness coaches, so to speak, and you go to them and they damage you more than they help you. So which means we also need to raise the personnel that will be able to fill that gap, so that when people become aware of the fact that they need exercise and they want it, They don't want to go to quacks. They want to go to people who are well trained, who are competent, who are skilled, who can actually guide them.
I thank you. I thank you for making that point.
Right.
Because that's the challenge I have as a trainer of trainers.
Right.
That's why one of the things we did is started IREP in Nigeria, Institute for Registered Exercise Professional, to raise the level.
Right.
So that they can now become part, because like I said earlier on, health is a field that's very knowledge and experience intensive.
Right.
And research based. So we want to make sure that people understand that, for instance, in gyms, we are not in health.
Right.
Because gyms are there for leisure and recreation.
Okay.
They are not there for performance management.
Okay.
For you to do performance management, you have to follow the proper health methodology. Assessment, diagnosis, prescription, review, updating and upgrading.
Based on feedback.
So in gyms, you don't have consultants.
Right. Just everybody
you simply
comes
have trainers.
And you keep jumping and
That's
dancing.
why I keep jumping, and those trainers don't even have the basic required, knowledge. They don't have the basic required training capacity, which will come through a BSc in physical and health education. Yeah. They don't have that. Okay, so the effort we have to make, and this effort will also be made effectively when there's that understanding from the citizenry that if you go and choose somebody to lead you, mostly to take care of the most important thing you have, where you don't have spare parts, you don't have fallback, you don't have backups, then that person must have the required level of knowledge.
I remember you mentioned a case where you were invited to speak, I think in Port Harcourt, and you said there was a professor there who asked you a question to know your credentials before. Can you tell us that story again?
Yes, it was a very interesting story. I was a consultant for one of our, Nigerian, billionaires, and who had a health condition, and he had traveled, throughout the world in health retreats and all that, with very little, health outcomes. So he was referred to me, and after spending 4 months with him, he was renewed. He was like, I'm the chairman of a club, and I want all the members of my club to benefit from this knowledge. And his club was a club that was started when they graduated, 30 years back.
Right.
Okay, so they had engineers, lawyers, doctors, professors, and all that. And when he introduced me, this Dr. Jack, a wellness consultant, and they gave me the microphone, a professor of medicine jumped. Said, Dr. Jack, I'm sorry, I have nothing against you, but I've been introduced to wellness consultants who are retired nightclub bouncers. I've been introduced to some wellness consultants who are retired bankers. I am a university professor of medicine. So if you don't have a foundational degree in human science, if you don't have an advanced degree in human science, and if you don't have a terminal degree in human science, then I have no business
listening to you. Very frank.
I was impressed with that. That's what all of us should do.
Right.
You should not just waste time with people you are not getting any value from, or risk your life and your health by giving your body to people who are likely to damage it and traumatize it, than add value.
Right.
So I was impressed. And by the time I explained to him that, I have a PhD in physical and health education. In fact, I took courses with medical doctors, and probably when he was doing his MBCH, I was doing my PhD. He stood up, shook my hand, and so went on. But that is important.
Right.
And that's what I expect people to do.
Yeah.
To ensure safety, to ensure efficiency, and to ensure that we don't have accidents or incidents.
Right. Yeah, I believe that point has been well made, and if our human body is the most important piece of equipment that we have, we cannot just put it in the hands of just anybody to tamper with it or toy with it anyhow. I remember the first time I started becoming very conscious and aware of the fact that I needed to exercise regularly. I went into a gym to register, and all they wanted to know was I mean, they wanted me to know what's their fee. This is how much we charge per month. Just pay, and then come tomorrow. And no assessment was done. No diagnosis.
They don't
no
have the capacity. Assessment is conceptual capability.
Right.
The instructor in the gym is a nurse.
Right.
He does not have conceptual capability.
Right.
He cannot assess, he cannot diagnose, he cannot prescribe.
Right.
But what we say is that when he must have the good capacity, professional capacity,
right,
to be able to treat. So that demands training.
Right.
Intensive training, extensive training, expensive training, and continual training.
Right.
So
they just brought us in, everybody, those who have been exercising all their lives, plus those of us who were starters, lumped all of us together. And they began to say, yeah, jump up, one leg down, this and that. After day one, I said, look, I can't start at this level. You need to start me from somewhere and then build me up. You know, it was an experience. But of course, he didn't have a clue. I had to drop out along the way. And that's what we find in most other places. So we would encourage everyone. Yes, exercise is great. Exercise is good. Dr. Jack has told us it is for wellness, it is for fitness, it is for improved capacity, improved productivity, it is for
health, healing,
for healing, for socializing,
yes, because
for
in fact,
leisure.
That's what I did not mention. Right. I mentioned art form.
Right.
I mentioned leisure and recreation.
Right.
I mentioned performance management.
Right.
The last one I did not mention is healing, therapy.
Therapy, that's right.
So
it can also
exercise.
Be prophylactic.
That's right. Exercise for therapy, prophylactic, prevention, reversal, or exercise for performance management need conceptual capabilities.
Right.
So you can be able to conceptualize, design, apply properly, review, update, upgrade. So it's a scientific process.
Great. We are going to have to cut it off here today because you see, if you engage Dr. Jack for the next 2 hours, you will never be tired. And he keeps bringing something new to the table, something useful, something relevant. This has been Exposé, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. And don't forget that what we need is more education, not more medication. And the best prescription is knowledge. And today we have had a mouthful. I hope you can chew that and masticate it, ruminate over it, digest it, internalize it, and then implement it. And we'd like to hear your feedback in the next couple of days or weeks of how exercising has become a very great benefit to your life, to your wellness. Thank you for joining us every Monday evening, 8 p.m. Nigerian time on Exposé. Please click on the subscribe button if you haven't done so. And then you will see 2 hands, 1 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down. Click on the one that says thumbs up if you like this episode, and then share. There's a share button there. Click on the share and send it to your friends, send it to your colleagues, send it to your neighbors. Let them watch it over and over and over again so they can be inspired. We want to see one day when the whole of the country will be fully mobilized to engage in exercise, fitness, to reduce downtime, to prevent disease, to reverse disease, to increase leisure, to reduce crime, and to increase productivity and our national GDP as a nation. Because a healthy and fit population is a highly productive population. Thank you once again. Have a very wonderful rest of the week. God bless you, and bye-bye.
Discover fundamental truth that will transform your health and empower you to live a life void of sicknesses in this new book by Preventive Akinyemi, Nature versus Nurture. Get a copy to experience it for yourself. Please visit TSS Bookshop now to grab a copy.
Rafa Institute of Healthy Living presents Healthy Living Module 3 Training. Date 17th to 20th of November, Wednesday to Saturday, 2021. Join Preventive Akinyemi and his team of seasoned professionals for this life-changing training. The time is 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. daily. This would allow you to have returned from office and settled. Please note that this training will be held on Zoom. Training fee is 40,000 Naira and the early bird registration is 35,000 Naira. Mode 1 graduates are eligible to attend this training. What you will learn includes cancer prevention strategies, colonic irrigation and enema, vitamin C, benefits and channels of administrations, alternative cancer protocol, natural bioresources for health, cancer, the types, causes, incidence, characteristics and stages, environment and our health, etc. For more information, please call +234 902 976 6076 or +234 806 702 0412. Thank you.